Viewers and subscribers, welcome back to Beating the Press podcast. Today, we're going to be reviewing the two big games on the weekend. First, we're going to start by looking at the West Ham versus Chelsea game, which ended in a draw. And then we will look at the Liverpool versus Everton, the Merseyside derby, which ended with Liverpool running away winners 2-0. Joining me to review these two matches, we have with us Sugar Belly.
Greetings, viewers and subscribers.
We also have with us Carey.
Yes, viewers and subscribers, grateful to be back again to discuss some quality football.
Yes, so we are going to jump straight into it. We're going to start by looking at that fixture which took place on Saturday. Chelsea versus West Ham versus Chelsea. Sugar Belly, talk to us about that game in terms of what were your overall thoughts on that match, and in fact, what were your thoughts on the result?
Well, in my opinion, the match lived up to what I expected fully, especially from my team, Chelsea. I think we came out, played very decent, especially in the first half. There were lots of improvements to see by the side. I guess it was a bit disheartening to not leave West Ham Stadium with all 3 points, especially with that VAR decision that went against us. Very horrendous by the referee. So it is what it is. Results still poor from Chelsea, so just have to move again.
Yes, indeed. So that's pretty much 3 games on the bunks there that Chelsea is drawing. As you said, 3 points were up for grabs and still left the stadium with a draw, just a point in hand. As just mentioned, referee decision was one of controversy. Kiri, I'll bring you in at this point. So what were your thoughts on that game?
Well, to be honest, we saw improvements from Chelsea, so I think they're somewhat getting some things together. Because if you remember, Chelsea in the past couple of games, it was probably the most difficult thing for them to get off couple shots. And they ended up taking 12 shots. We saw the impact of Felix. I think based on his game so far, I think Chelsea will be looking into permanently signing Felix because he had a very, very strong impact on the game. Also, Enzo Fernandez, he had a really good game as well. I think the new signings are somewhat moving the needle in a positive way for Chelsea. Modric had a decent game, not bad. We know, but there's a little thing between him not getting enough passes from Cucurella, but maybe that's something they will figure out. It's just 2 matches in, but looks good. I think they will improve. The VAR call was a bit very, as I said, controversial, but I think West Ham left happy enough with the points. Chelsea thought they could have walked away with all 3 points, but overall it wasn't a bad match. Improvements from Chelsea, which is good to see.
Yes, I believe Potter is still searching for his best 11 and getting the team to gel together and build that team chemistry. West Ham, on the other hand, I thought that early injury to Paqueta really crippled their midfield. They were forced into an early substitution due to injury, and coming in was Souček, who is a bit more defensive minded. So to me, that was a major blow to their midfield and could have definitely impacted their attacking prowess. But 2 goals, 2 teams that were searching for scoring, they managed to score 1 each. So I'm thinking both coaches have some positives to take away from the game going forward. In terms of the key talking points, you touched on it earlier, that VAR decision. Sugar Belly, what were your thoughts on that?
Well, I have 2 opinions. Basically, the referee did not see clearly because of where he was positioned on the field. Souček's body would have blocked him from seeing the hand that eventually pushed away that ball. So this is where VAR needs to come in and is failing, where the ref has failed to see something, but yet it's as if the VAR isn't working because it seems that it wasn't even reviewed. So
Mm.
it's very hard to wrap my head around, especially things we see this week in, week out, where one or two situations happen in the Premier League and VAR seems to turn a blind eye. So what's really happening?
Yes, yes, from the Chelsea fans, it's a tough pill to swallow, But in some defense of VAR, we know no system is 100% accurate. And for me, VAR has gotten more decisions right than wrong. So it's still a work in progress. There are still some bugs to fix the virtual assistant referee system, but I'm seeing signs of progress. Unfortunately, some of those big decisions tend to make the news versus those decisions which got it right sometimes. But Kerry, I'll bring you in at this point. From a neutral's point of view, how did you see that decision?
No, I think honestly it was a blatant handball. The explanation they gave, I I don't think it really is a good explanation. Yes, they said that he was falling and he stick out his hand to, he stuck out his hand to break his fall. The way he positioned his hand, in my opinion, wasn't necessary to break his fall because
Mm.
he could have positioned his hand in some other way to break his fall. So I think it was a deliberate handball. He did what he had to do to save the team. VAR got it really wrong, and I won't blame so much VAR this system. I don't know if we're on the same page with that, but it's definitely the persons behind VAR because there are a few referees behind VAR who are getting a lot of missed calls um, for the season so far. We had one in the Arsenal match. Lee Mason forgot to draw the
Offside
offside line,
lines. Mm.
right? So I mean things like that. I mean, come on, how if you're looking for offside, how can you forget the most important thing to the whole display and then make a decision? So it's the men behind VAR. It's basically we knew that they weren't the best of referees. They have the VAR now. I don't know why we expect to see anything much different. So it's just week in, week out, I think. But as I said, the big cause they're getting it right most of the times. So
Yes,
work
yes.
in progress. Let's see what happens in the near future. Hopefully it improves.
Yes, oftentimes these decisions may very well balance themselves over the course of the season, So at the end of the day, the referee decision is final, and some will go for you, some will go against you. But oftentimes, these decisions are somewhat consequential in that it could have led to a Chelsea penalty, and who to tell, it may very well have determined the final outcome, rather than walking away with a point, it could have been 3 points. But it's just football, and that's why we love the beautiful game. It's still full of controversy, even with the use of technology. But let's segue. So that was the Chelsea West Ham game, ended on 1-1. Liverpool faced Everton in the Merseyside derby, and Liverpool walked away 2-0 winners. Sugar Belly, how did you see that game?
Well, going into this game, I think most people would have Everton to come out and put in that good performance that we saw a week earlier. You know, unfortunately, that wasn't the case.
Mm.
Liverpool, on the other hand, they came out trying to prove a point, trying to get all 3 points. Um, the game was a bit scrappy for a few sections in the first half. However, Liverpool found their feet. I mean, what better time to score there than that first counter attack after Everton hit the post up the other end. So that first goal, I really think, took the wheels off Everton, and the game, it went downhill for them from there. So second half now, Liverpool again, once again, took the early lead in the second half, and we saw nothing from Everton really.
Yes, indeed. That to me was the key moment in the match. Everton up to that point was coping pretty well with the Liverpool ball dominance. Well drilled, two banks of four. Liverpool having the ball in front of the Everton lines, but really not creating much. And it was just that key moment. They say oftentimes at this level, games are decided by very small margins. And that is, in fact, to me, what decided this game. Tarkowski heading onto the post, and within 8 seconds, the ball is in the back of the net at the other end. Fine margins. And it was at that point that really Liverpool took the initiative, and the rest is history, really. Everton had no comeback or could not find much. But Carey, how did you see it?
Um, Once in a long time, it's been a minute now that we have seen this Liverpool display. It's been a while we've seen this Liverpool display. The counter attack there was Liverpool from maybe 3 seasons ago, except it would have been Mane and Salah, but now it's Nunes to Salah, and it was a really brilliant counter attack. It took them after the first pass to Salah, it took them 7 seconds for Salah to reach at the end of the other 18 yards to tuck away the goal. So it was a brilliant display, especially I was impressed with Joe Gomez. You know, a lot of time he comes under heavy criticism, but he put in a good shift today. So I say kudos to him. He held his lines properly, did what he had to do. Couple ball recoveries, which was very key for Liverpool. So I take my hats off to him. And actually Gakpo is now after the target now. He's banged his one goal, got his one goal. So I know that is really a confidence lifter for him. Ease some pressure because he was getting a bit heckled here and there from some persons, some viewers that hey, he's not producing. So it's good to see Gakpo get his goal off the mark. I see Liverpool today, there were good signs, good positive signs. I mentioned the Arsenal Everton match, Onana. If he had a good game, then he could have posed trouble, but we saw the opposite. He had a really bad game, and Everton lost the midfield battle after the first goal. So pretty much sums up what it is right now for Everton, Liverpool, trying to get things going. So should be interesting days ahead for Liverpool fans.
Yes, yes, indeed. You make a very good point there in terms of Everton somewhat losing the midfield battle. For me, I believe the fact that Dominic Calvert-Lewin wasn't playing, I think that was the key difference between what we saw from Everton in the Arsenal game and the display we see here versus Liverpool. In the Arsenal game, Dominic Calvert-Lewin was exceptional in holding up the ball. So once Everton defended and the ball went out, Calvert-Lewin was instrumental in keeping that ball alive and getting the Everton attackers involved. But in this game, we saw the opposite, where it was young Sims, I believe, playing his first game, was thrown in at the deep end, and we didn't see much from him in terms of holding the ball up and allowing his teammates to really run on and get involved. And I believe that was a key point. I believe Liverpool should definitely consider themselves lucky. Lucky Calvert-Lewin wasn't playing, and lucky that header did not nestle in the back of the net. And they rode their luck by countering and grabbing that goal out of nowhere. No help in part or thanks to somewhat to Pickford and that major blunder in terms of pretty much leaving the goal completely exposed for Salah to tuck it away. Sugar Belly, how did you see that key moment in the game?
Yes, I think Pickford was trying to be very smart there and he misjudged that flight of the ball. Very poor judgment there from the goalkeeper. I think either he could have stepped to Salah fully or stayed more to his line where he could have made a save. So he basically gave away the empty goal right there. So and as I said earlier, those two key moments on either side of the halftime break really defined the game for Everton. It threw them out of the water. I think after that second goal, especially, they didn't know what to do. Young Sims up at the top. I see them trying to play out most of the time. The hold up play from him was very non-existent. I guess because of its lack of experience. I think Joe Gomez and company take took a big advantage of that. So they really struggled to get forward and get Doucouré and others in the game that we saw the week before. So that's where they lost the game for me.
Yes, definitely a key point there you raised, Sugar Belly. In terms of a final word though from you, Carey, Liverpool getting 3 points, their first win of 2023, a step in the right direction for Klopp and the team. We saw some players returning from injury as well, the likes of Ajata. We saw Van Van Dijk getting into a little conflict on the sideline there as well. So Liverpool has some players returning from injury. A first win for 23. What more can we expect going forward, Kerry?
That's what it should be interesting days for Liverpool fans coming up. Right now, the team seems like they're somewhat trying. It's a long time I haven't seen them press. We see some form of pressing coming back forward. So they're preparing, I guess, for the Champions League. They have that looking forward to as well. Seeing where they are in the Premier League, that they have no choice but to go all out in the Champions League. So I think they're trying to get into form, get into rhythm for that because they know that they have to put on a masterclass in both legs at that match. So should be interesting days. Players returning. See the teams seem somewhat to be responding to Klopp now. So positives from the weekend. Let's see what they have in store for us further.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Viewers and subscribers, I'll just like to thank you again for joining us here on Beating the Press podcast. I'm just going to ask you and continue to encourage you to share, like, and subscribe. And until next time, this is Rafa signing off.